Hear me?
Yep.
Thanks for being here. And I thought my stage fright would be gone, but no, here we are. Okay, let's talk about real-time notifications in Drupal. And let's kick off with introducing me. I am Shibin Das, but maybe you might know Deadman. That's my nickname. I'm the maintainer of Drupal JSON API parameters. So if you have used decoupled Drupal and JSON API, you might have used the library. I'm also working on lately FlowDrop, which is a workflow editor like the one which has been made famous by Langflow and N8N. So you might see more of me in those projects. Also, the project that inspired me to do this talk is based on real-time notifications in Drupal. I am living in Hamburg now, and I'm from India, Kerala, and I work with Factorial, who have been kind enough to sponsor this talk. And so so if you have anything to do with Drupal, you might contact us just for talks, or if you have projects, even better. So, we are based in Hamburg, and we are a Drupal agency, and Factorial has been also sponsoring FlowDrop, the project that I've been working on. But this talk is about real-time notification. And also, I would like to thank my wife and my daughter, who has supported me in this journey. My daughter has tested the demo that I'll be showcasing, so I hope you have enough fun, or more fun than she had while using the demo. So this is a brief agenda. Introduction, we already went through that, and we'll talk about why real-time notification matters in Drupal. And I will use an example scenario as a basis to discuss different architecture that you would have implemented, but we'll also discuss the pros and cons of different architecture when it comes to implementing notifications. Then we will go through the project that I maintain, notification server and its architecture. Then of course we go through a demo. I didn't do any sacrifice to the demo gods, so let's see how it goes. And I'll be taking in some question answers from you guys. Okay? So, so this is a QR code for the demo. You can scan it. This is an application which is not created by DrupalCon, so it's a personal one. It takes you to my own server hosted on DigitalOcean, a very small server, but yeah. So we'll come back to the demo later on, but you can see what it does already. So it's a thing to collect feedback from you, okay? And the inspiration of this has been that's my quote, that's me, Shibin Das. So, not some great guy, but yeah. So, okay. Back in Drupal 7, when I implemented a notification system where admin could send some messages and it immediately pops up in all the users connected to the system. I built it over a polling method, which is a JavaScript, and I used some Angular or something to create this notification widget. And 4 versions later, I'm doing the same thing if I want to do that. Okay, so nothing much changed. I mean, the world has changed. We have real-time notification almost in every digital touch point. I'm seeing this live updates on things without me explicitly asking for it. It can be annoying, but the point is it has become such a common experience that anything that doesn't have it seems like a tech from 90s. That's the user experience. So if you want to have a dashboard in Drupal, which gives live updates of when people are interacting, publishing content, or moving something to draft and all those things, what is the best thing we have right now? So let's see if we can improve that. So for this, like I mentioned earlier, I will go into an example scenario. And why did I choose this scenario? Is because something which I really experienced. So this is like a couple of years back. It is a quite common thing that we use layout builder to to do things. But for a really complex landing page, it could take up to 30 minutes to hit the save button, because you're building, dragging and dropping and saving a lot of things and whatnot. So what happens if there is a server maintenance that goes during that window? Your editor might get pissed off, because when they try to hit the save button in the end, boom, yeah, it's can't happen or something like that. So what if we have a notification system in core or whatever, which in your project where the admin can send a message before they try to do this security update or something. And yeah, so let's see how it would play out in the current scenario like we have in Drupal. Yeah, so let's say our message is sites going to maintenance in 5 minutes. So a basic flow would be the admin uses a form in Drupal to submit this, create this message, hits on save, and the message would get saved into the database somewhere. And then somehow, this message gets displayed to all connected users. Yeah. So I would like to put this on a timeline to understand, because we are talking about real time. So what does real time mean here? So here, I'm just creating so it doesn't really correlate to seconds. It could be 1 second, 2 seconds on the x-axis. But yeah, it's just intervals. And then let's say at t0, that is the user loads the page. The user could be an editor who loads the page. And at t2, sometimes later, after the user loads the page, the admin sends the message. And then in the default Drupal version, if you implemented this using some blogs or status messages, I don't know what, there is no guarantee that the user would ever see the message unless they refresh the page. So what can we do here? Let's say we put a small Drupal behavior, JavaScript or something, on every page, which checks after a few intervals that if there is a message, then we could show this message to the user. So let's say it checks for message every 10 seconds or so, so at least it is guaranteed that the user could see, unless there is a JavaScript error on the page or something, the user would see the message in 10 seconds. Okay, so yeah, so in this case, T0, user loads the page, admin sends the message at T2, and at T5, the user receives the message or notification in this case. So yeah, that's polling for you. So polling is there is a timer which we check with the server every fixed interval, and then show the message to the user. Then we have a long interval polling. The reason why is long interval polling is employed in some applications is because imagine every 10 seconds 100 users are checking with the server if there is any new message. And your rate of message is once in a day. So that is so there is a lot of wasted resource, because every polling, even though the payload is quite low, it still does a full Drupal has to serve that request, which is a full bootstrap and all the server resources associated with it. So in order to save server resources, one may implement what we call it long interval polling. Not to be confused with long polling, which is a different concept. Long interval polling is basically you increase the interval from 10 seconds to 1 minute or so, or even more. So that way you can save some server resources using this. But then where is real time happening here? you receive the message. I mean, the message gets shown to the user maybe after a minute or so. So yeah, we sacrifice immediacy with that strategy, but we do save server resources. Then we have, oh sorry, did I? Yeah. Then we could use, of course, we could also throw money at the problem and use a third-party service to handle the notification for us. Yeah, your server is happy. I don't know whether your client would be happy to pay the bill. So that's an option. And then avoid all this complexity by using the default. Yeah, let's not have this real-time notification. We don't care. But that is the reality, right? When you see the implementation complexity that exists, one could have this. I think I missed one slide in between, which is. Yeah, so one thing which I should also explain is there is also something called long polling, where you get the same benefit of using a third-party SaaS. But what happens with long polling, the concept, we have this concept of server-sent events, which you can implement in PHP as well. So what happens with the long polling, not long interval polling, long polling is once a connection is established with the server, it remains like that. So it's like a telephone call you make and you never hang up. So the server, if there is no message, it doesn't send any message. But since the connection is established, so after 1 minute or 2 minutes, if a message admin do send a message, it can deliver it immediately without the client asking for it. So it's but the problem with this is that Drupal usually don't work in this scenario. Drupal works in this HTTP world where user demands a page, it serves a page and goes to sleep. I mean it terminates the connection. So when you use long polling, you would be limited that your Drupal, that connection is always active, and you would be eating up a lot of server resources. Ultimately, a lot of access denied starts, not access denied, 500 or something starts popping up. So it can cause server stability issue unless you scale up, and then you are ending up paying more money. So yeah. So okay. So we saw from a time perspective and how the user experience perspective, how they experience different scenarios. And this would be an architecture of how it looks like in this scene. The digital ecosystem involved would be we have a browser where the user is typing a URL or clicking on a link, and then through the public network it reaches Drupal through an HTTP thing, and you see it's unidirectional because the request has to originate from the client side, and then Drupal will serve it and just terminate the connection. So that's the default setup. It works well for serving pages and all, but for notification, not so well. And then we could in the polling method we put JavaScript timer over here, which will request every 10 seconds of how this to get this real notification. And then the server sent events, which I mentioned earlier, is a technology which is already implemented in a lot of browsers and available to use, where basically it's just that the request is made to the server, but instead of terminating it right away, it just keeps it alive, so that through the same connection, notification can be sent back later. The challenges of long polling in Drupal would be which I just mentioned earlier, the server resources gets tied up to that connection. So if you have 100 clients connected, so serving 100 pages is easy because you serve the page, 100 page, and terminate the connection, and the server is ready to serve the other pages. But if you're using servers and events or long polling, what happens is these 100 connections never get disconnected. They are always there. So it is eating up your server resources, even if it is not sending any messages. It could it just remains there. So yeah, and we run into a lot of issues because of that. For example, the database connections pool might be limited. So if you have, so the practical limitations might be much less than theoretical limitations you might find in your projects when using servers and events. So yeah, that's a word of conscience. Might work well for like an admin dashboard where it's only one user using it, but yeah, that's the thing. So the thing is, like, I started with servers and events, so we had to run some performance test over these things. So we calculated some theoretical limit of okay, if each connection is going to take 4 to 5 MB of resources, then how many clients can get connected over a 2 GB server? That's something which we wanted to know. So we could know how much we want to scale up if you want to vertically or horizontally later. But so here's the table which I'm just mentioning. If you just use PHP, pure PHP, not Drupal, or just PHP to send the servers and events, I noticed that it takes around. This is theoretical calculations, so it takes around 4 to 5 MB of resource. This is memory I'm talking about for a single connection. And Drupal core, even though it says that it needs 64 MB minimum, but it works well with 8 MB of resources just for a single connection. And we can also have a complicated app. If you're monitoring your app's memory consumption, you might also have some complicated app which takes around 200 MB or more. But it varies. And based on this, which means for 10 clients, you can see the requirement of just from the memory. I'm not talking about processing and all those things, because processing might be very low for servers and events if your notification rate is low. Okay? Yeah. Then this is the same thing with a graph. So this is a mix of practical and theoretical values. But to give you an idea of how many clients we can serve with a certain memory limitations of 2 GB. So if you have a 2 GB RAM server, usually you don't have. If you have a 2 GB server, you have to calculate for the overheads of other applications that is running on it. But this is theory. So you have for different kind of applications, you have this theoretical limit that we can achieve from performance tuning and all those things. So. And yeah, and when we go to the third-party service, the reason I did mention about the servers and events is some of you might have already been trying it for some real-time notifications, because we are working with conversational interface where for AI, where it is an expectation that you get real-time feedback of what the LLM is thinking about when you ask a question. Otherwise, you don't know whether you're getting a feedback after 1 minute or 1 hour, or it was a timeout or something. But yeah, so it's becoming much more common. Yeah. So so when you use a third-party service, what happens is the client, that is a user using a browser, would request a page from Drupal, and if that page has a notification widget, which Drupal has to supply using the SDK of a third-party service like Firebase or Pusher. There are a lot of country modules, by the way. For example, for Firebase, there is a module from LN Webworks for Firebase UI. But basically, it can be used to implement the SDK in Drupal for notification, and Pusher Jürgen has a module as well for connecting with ECAs and for real-time notification. But yeah, so there are already modules available to use this out of the box. But what happens here is what you have to mention, remember, is so Drupal submits a request to this third-party service to deliver the notification. And this request is, since it would be on a totally different server, so you would there is some complexity involved in doing a secure communication, because you don't want your user to receive notifications from random people. Drupal should be in charge of that. So yeah. So what notification server, the project that I'm working on, does is This is the vision. I'll let you some time to read this. Yeah. So yeah, it's a mouthful. So yeah, create a secure, self-hosted, and a scalable platform that enables Drupal to deliver real-time experience directly to the browser. Okay, so yeah, I'm not considering the case for your mobile app or something. It's just browsers. So where Drupal is at the center of the whole experience. So I'm thinking of a chat within Drupal maybe, or a dashboard that you have you could develop where you can show this real-time notification. So, and the architecture is very similar to the third-party service that I mentioned earlier, and it uses a Node.js server, and that's what serves the notification. And so Drupal application talks to this Node.js server about okay, these are the channels you would we want to create. These are the valid client IDs, and also you can mention that which client ID has access to which channel. The access control thing can be controlled from Drupal itself. So, and after that, Drupal doesn't care about how many clients are connected, because that is taken care of by the notification server. So the only thing you as a developer, if you're using this, needs to care about is what channels are valid, channels as in what different different categories of notification is in your application. Maybe you just have one channel which is admin alerts or something, or system alerts. Yeah, but it's up to you. So we do have Redis in here, and that is something which I throw in because for storing this access control configurations which Drupal sends over. And yeah. But the best thing about this whole project is it's all using open source technologies, and and then you can self-host it. There is a Docker file available for you to play around with. There is also a DDEV integration available. It's an add-on which you can add into your project. So you just do DDEV add-on notification server, I believe, and then you can try it out in your Drupal project. So these are the performance results which I have noticed. Could you find out why I'm showing this? So on a 2G, oh yeah, you're onto it. So my earlier thing was I was trying to figure out theoretically how much clients can I serve with my 2GB server, and it went. So I was running performance tests, and this is not theoretical, it's practical result that I got. So I was able to run performance tests on 10,000 clients, and my server was consuming less than 200 MB.
Cool.
Yeah, cool. So that's the thing. So and it is a scalable solution. And then I did run into limitations. So then I got greedy. I want to see the limit. Okay, so there is no comparison. So I want to see the limit of So in the earlier one, all the tests, even the PHP test, the notification rate was at 1 notification per second. And then what I did was I increased the notification rate and figure out and try to find out how many clients can get connected with server being stable to handle handling those requests. And what I found out was that I ran into a limitation which is much lower than what WebSocket connection promises, which would be 1 million notifications and all. So and the reason why it is so is the access control check which I am doing in my server for each and every client, it's run in a loop. And that was the limitation which was limiting how many notification it can serve. But this is much more than what we need in our projects. So unless there is a project that comes over, we might just keep on using this. Because Shibin from Factorial has already volunteer to rewrite the server in Rust if there is a need for that, of 1 billion notification per second target. Okay, but I don't think we have a client that needs that yet. So yeah, so the earlier was just how many clients can be connected, and which was way more than we wanted, and then this is when could the server become unstable. So what you see over here is in this graph. This, as it moves up, that's the memory that it consumes. So this is an instability that we are talking about. So if the lower it stays, it's better. So so for 1K client, I'm able to do 100 notification per second, and the server is stable. So 100 notification per second would be. Oh, yeah. Sorry. So 100 notification per second would be 1 notification every 10 milliseconds. Yeah, I don't think we have that use case. So yeah. So that's pretty much it about the architecture and what it can do. So what is it based on? Notification server, Node.js. Then we have HTTP and WebSocket, which is used to communicate with the Node server, where the HTTP is used for communicating with Drupal and the notification server. So Drupal sends the message to the notification server using the HTTP, like normal Drupal client. You can use the Gazelle client or whatever, or you can use the module that I have developed, and it's on Drupal.org, called notification server, which gives you a service, and it makes your life really easy. So it's an adapter over the client. Yeah. So then the whole server's architecture is based on ZeroMQ's design principles, and I really loved their documentations and all. Initially, I was trying to create a proper ZeroMQ client, but then I realized for the case of Drupal, we don't need to consider a situation where consider a lot of situations. So it's a very much simpler implementation of it, but the main idea of the clients and servers don't need to know about each other is a really good one to have, from a scaling point of view. So you can do, if you're interested, you can also do horizontal scaling and all, and it should just work. So yeah, we haven't had the chance to do that because the server is so nice, fast, and and yeah. So then, of course, security. That's very important, and one of the motivation behind doing notification server was the security part itself. Well, I found out that so it is easy to use third-party services and all that thing, but the moment you throw in this access layer, which client ID is available to which, a simple use case, for example, if a user logs out, they should stop getting notification from a server, and I'm surprised when after implementing this, I'm looking at a lot of apps where I'm logged out, I still get notifications. And so what if that is a case where I was kicked out actually by an admin, but I'm still getting notifications. So that is a security issue, I would say. So yeah, and this is because in a lot of scenarios, once the channels get created, the overhead of handling this access layer with a third-party service is a pain. And so for this, that has been the consideration right from the start, that we should be able to implement access layer on these channels that we create. And so the private API between Drupal, and why I'm calling it private API, because it is not something you have to expose to the public. Because the communication between the notification server that you host and Drupal that you host can be done over localhost if you want. So yeah, that's what the private HTTP API. So this reduces the complexity of a lot of things. The whole source code of notification server, it's in JavaScript. It's 4 or 5 files, but it's available. You can tweak it for your own liking. If you want to add in some additional security layer on top of it, it's totally doable. But yeah, and the WebSocket clients obviously is served over public port. so that people can connect to this WebSocket for receiving notifications. Yeah, thank you. Then I just covered this in the previous slide. So yeah. You can also implement IP-based restrictions over the notification server that you host and Drupal, because you are in total control of this servers. To tighten the security, and this is the kicker. So for WebSocket, which is in the public, browsers, there could be 10,000 or whatever, and which gets connected to the notification server, and like I mentioned earlier, Drupal doesn't know about which clients is connecting when. So what we did is we made client ID mandatory for this connections to be established, and the only way you can generate client ID is through a private API. So unless Drupal generates the client ID, you cannot connect to the through WebSocket, and Drupal can revoke that client ID anytime. So, and also change the access control and all those things. So there we go. We have that some sort of good control over the security of this WebSocket connections. And something which I have to put it up front is thanks for Lucas finding it out as well, is that so this is a one-way communication. So WebSocket is designed for bidirectional communication, but no, it's designed to avoid that. So all the post requests in your application, that is the communication between the browser and whatever happens in the browser and Drupal, should actually reach Drupal directly. So this way, you have all the context in Drupal to do the access validations and message validations and everything. You don't have to rely on notification server. That's totally fine. So basically, if a client has to communicate anything, they do it. So if you imagine a chat application, so whenever a user types a message and press enter, it will reach Drupal using a normal post request. But once the user's message reaches Drupal, it sends this message to notification server and delivers to 1 or 100 or 1,000 clients it is connected to. So everybody gets a notification that a message has been created, and that is the architecture. So let's jump to, so this is the configurations. So this is the private and this is the public URL that you have to feed in. So it can be notification server because I'm using a Docker-based setup, but it can be a local host with a port name, or could be a private IP, which is only accessible from this particular IP which Drupal is running on. But that's the important one. And the architecture has been made in such a way that it is difficult to work against and create a security issue. But if you find one, please contact me. Then this is the format of a message that is delivered. It's in JavaScript land, so yeah, this is how you would subscribe to the WebSocket. So basically, this client ID part is the most important one. You have to submit it to the browser using Drupal settings or using an endpoint to deliver the client ID. That's what I'm using for the demo. Then there is a Drupal service called notification server.sender where you pass in the channel and the notification you want to deliver. This notification can be string or something that can be JSON encoded and JavaScript can read. So you can send some complex data as well. Then this is how it would look like when the WebSocket, the client side receives the message. It will get the type, the channel, as well as the data that is associated with the notification, which you can show it to the user or process it and show it to the user. So, yeah. So for those who missed the, oh, wait, I prepared a few slides. So what this is happening, so when the user, in the demo, if you have already, when the user clicks on a thumbs up, the JavaScript sends an HTTP post to Drupal, and Drupal will register that +1, publish the notification to the notification server through a private HTTP post. The notification server would distribute the notification through WebSocket to JavaScript, and you would get that. So again, for those who missed the demo, so let me know what you guys are doing. I have no clue what you guys are doing.
Picking out.
Let me see. So this is a surprise for me. Come on. Tiny URL, you are giving up on me.
Can you show the QR code once?
This doesn't work?
No.
Oh, I'll just use this.
Bad gateway.
Oh, this is bad gateway. Is everybody getting this?
Yes.
Does it work on my side?
It works for me.
So it works?
Works perfect.
Yeah, so I'm running into some, all my claims are false, or what? About this.
The notification server works nice, but Drupal has, I think, some problems.
Drupal? Oh dear. Okay. So, yeah, so I mean, yeah, maybe I'm running into the HTTP limitations because, like,
Because mine look like this now.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2000. We reached 2000.
Oh, you reached 2000?
Yeah, more than
2000,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Oh, wow. Thanks. So, but main part is like it's not just yours, but you can see. Oh, you can see like the others are doing it in real time, right?
We can see it, yeah.
So what we probably ran into is the limitation of Drupal here. Sorry, no shaming. I am a Drupal fan, but see, I'm running it on a very cheap server, like a €10 server, and I didn't calculate that there might be more than 10 people actually trying to hit the server at the same time. So Drupal is not able to serve it because, like, unless Drupal serves that client ID, you won't be able to establish that WebSocket connection. So there is a limitation over there which I have to now think about. But yeah, that's the practical limitations you run into because, yeah, but maybe you can try it again so that, like, now the server has recovered and, like, the page has to load. You can't receive this notification unless the page loads. So yeah, that's it. So there is like 5 minutes or done?
7 minutes, so we have time for questions.
Yeah, fire it up.
Questions, anyone? Oh, it wasn't on.
I was just loud.
Yeah, I have a question there.
Oops.
Let me rephrase this. About sorry, I forgot.
It's that time of the day.
Yeah, it's that time of year. How do you handle when the clients connect and it needs to connect to two servers then? With other domain name, port name, and so on. Because with some security clients, you don't want to have a separate connection to do. Can you do it on the same domain name? And
Yeah, so that's that's a very good question, and that's something which also I was worried about because WebSocket doesn't have this CARS policy. You can connect it from any browser, and WebSocket the Chrome or whatever the browser doesn't restrict the connection to a separate domain. Okay, but I made it difficult. So what is it like? You have to you can supply CARS configuration which will simulate the browser CARS restrictions on the notification server through environment variables when you set it up, so that the notification has to origin from the same server which the URL domain which it is served from. So did I answer your question?
somehow. Yeah.
So basically the first answer is WebSocket doesn't allow you, but there is a configuration which you can use to do that. Yeah.
Hey,
Hello.
thank you for your presentation. My question is why the preferred way is to use ZeroMQ instead of MQ, like RabbitMQ or MQTT.
Those are two different things. RabbitMQ is for queuing, and ZeroMQ has nothing to do with that. ZeroMQ is the architecture of notification things, and RabbitMQ is like a bigger stack. I mean, it's a messaging broker, and that's a different thing than like notification server. A message broker is like it is very similar, like in a use case, but it's different. I mean, we use RabbitMQ in our application, but this is a very different thing. But yeah, this is also taking care of the delivery and everything. Yeah, RabbitMQ as well. But yeah. Hello.
Impressive work, and I see we have reached 2000, so it works quite well.
Thank you.
To go back to the SSE, server-side event, who works less well, you told about 3 restrictions and they are all server-side. Do we have some similar restriction on browser side about the number of connection? Or?
Yeah, we do have that for WebSocket. I don't know, SSE doesn't have that.
Okay. So, on SSE, server side, it's restricted, but not browser side, and WebSocket is opposite.
Yeah. So yeah, WebSocket, like, and it's not well documented. So for WebSocket, what happens is, I think Google Chrome restricted for 6 connections to the same domain, irrespective of which website you are connecting from. So, and the way so the workaround that I suggest is and this also really works well for cross-tab communication, is the client that connects to the server writes it to local storage, and your application listens to the local storage events, which is cross-tab across browser. So you can have, I can show you a demo of that working, and that works beautifully when you have your dashboard opened in 3 or 4 tabs of the same browser, and your notifications are seamlessly being delivered across all the 4 tabs. Yeah, so that's a workaround for WebSockets. But for servers and events, it will just create an extra connection with the server, which is also something you don't want. Yeah, unless you have a server that can scale. Yeah.
Anyone else?
Is the code available now?
Yes. Yes. Sorry, that came out. So yeah, notification server, the Drupal module, and then you can search for the DDEV add-on. Notification server, which uses the Docker Compose from another repo, but you get all the links over there. And also, I will be distributing this. I'll be making this slides public, and maybe you can. Yeah, it's a long URL for the slides, so that you get these links.
Fun.
We have time for one more question.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if you are aware of the project that's called Mercure Hub, because you made a comparison between server-side events performance and WebSockets, and then you fixed the problem by offloading it to a different notification server, so you didn't really solve the problem of the memory usage of Drupal, because you just offloaded it.
Yeah.
And I think the comparison between the two is wrong, because server-side events can be as performant as WebSockets, but they only allow one-way communication. So if you look at the Mercure project, it does exactly all the things you displayed here today.
True.
But only one way, using server-side events.
Yeah, even this project is the same. Like Mercure Hub, if you want to go, I came to know about Mercure Hub quite late, because I was collecting feedback regarding servers and events and performance issues. So, but then it is again, Mercure Hub is a different project, right? You host it outside Drupal. So the thing that I provide here is also the ACL, which is native to Drupal, which you can access control thing, and the services around that.
Yes, but your notification server is also hosted outside of Drupal, which is the same as Mercure.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's also an API which already integrates into Drupal as well. So there's a Mercure module which does all
exactly.
things. I just
Yeah.
let you know.
Shout out for that's also a path you can choose, using servers if you want to use servers and events, or Mercure Hub for that matter. Yeah.
Alright.
No, nothing. I mean, thanks for bringing it up. Like, it is indeed, because that is also being seriously considered for core applications of where, they reach the limits of this servers and events capabilities of using Mercure. I mean, by not core maintainers and all. So yeah, that's true. That's something we can also look into. But yes, again, all these solutions involve hosting another server and not doing it. That's the main takeaway
Yeah,
that you
that
could
was
have.
the thing that bothered me the most, is that you made a comparison between WebSockets and servers and events on performance side, while they are actually very identical.
Yeah, I failed to maybe mention that, these things were done in the context of Drupal. Yeah. So the PHP, if you are running just PHP on your own, in the same server, and not on a separate server and all those things, because those are the things which people are looking with, React loops and events and all those things. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
We're out of time. Thank you very much.
Thank you a lot.